Hey friends, what's good? I hope you guys are all well. Welcome to Story Time. So today I want to do a Let's Be Real episode, and this one is going to be on a kind of a touchy subject, but nonetheless very important to me, especially depression. So I come. These are crooked feeling. Let me just get adjusted. There we go. Anyways, uh, disclaimer: always noise, neighbors, air, all sorts of stuff. Dogs might bark. I'm a one and done kind of girl. I don't edit these. I just shoot the video and go for it. Send it off into the internet forever and ever to hopefully be referenced for something useful. Anyways, today's episode I want to talk about depression because I come from a very depressed world. I spent a lot of years being depressed. I didn't know at the time what I was going through. I was very young, but as I got older, I started to realize that a lot of the things that I was dealing with, I was in control of, but I didn't know how to control it. And I didn't know how to care for myself because I was a little bit too young. So when we get depressed, I mean, it could be there's a plethora of reasons why somebody might be depressed. You could have a chemical imbalance. It could be genetics. It could be situational, which I want to touch on that because I believe that my depression was situational, but also a little bit of a connection to being very empathic, compassionate as a child, never quite knowing when to stop giving and when to slow back on the loving. You get to a point sometimes when you're quite empathic or you feel everybody's feelings, you absorb it. So I know a lot of you out there do this. We absorb other people's problems, their sadness. Everything just gets absorbed, and we can't help it. We just can't help it. But with the depression that I suffered with, I'm going to say I went 24 years with depression. Now, that being said, the majority of the start of the depression was when I lost both my Nana and my grandpa in the same month. So within 30 days, my dad lost both of his parents. And what ended up happening is we saw a breakdown of a human being who just lost both of his parents at the same time. And he was very close to my Nana and Grandpa. So my dad lost both of his parents. And so he had to react as a 30, I think he was like 30, probably 35 or 36. He wasn't very old. He had to react in the way that he reacted, which was understandably complete dread, like sadness, just horrible. It was a horrible situation to go through, losing such beautiful people. And I remember it just like it was yesterday. And it was very hard for our entire family. But for some reason, it turned into depression for me. Um, I don't know how my brother dealt with things. My brother was very active outside. He liked to hunt and fish and hang out with his friends, and he did a lot of that kind of thing. I was more introverted. I did have friends, and I loved school and that kind of thing. But I was an artist. I was very quiet when I was by myself, and I did all my own kind of thing. I was very much like that. So I think what happened with the depression that I started to develop, it just started to compound because I was also a teenager and I was getting into the point of life where I didn't know what the heck was going on anyway. And then to lose your grandparents and watch your dad be as sad as he's ever been, it was a lot for a kid to take. So, in that time period, with all of us in the family, I'm sure we didn't even talk about grief. We just had to go on with life. We had to take care of life, which I was saying in my last video, grief, it doesn't really care. You amid all the chaos, you've got to go through it all. So we struggled and we tried to get through this horrible time, but we all had to do it in our own ways. My mom, my brother, and myself and my dad, all very different people. But what I saw for myself was I went internal quite a bit because I loved my Nana. My Nana was actually going to come and live with us, and that was going to be the most beautiful thing to have your Nana come and live with you and spend time with you, especially as a teenager. We were really close. A lot of us were close to Nana, but that didn't happen because she didn't quite make it. And both my grandparents, my nana and my grandpa, were quite young when they passed. I think my nana was only like not even 70. I'm not sure though. Mom, correct me, or Brad, correct me if you can in the comments. But when I started going through this depression, it was also a time for me to start listening to different kinds of music, which also kind of I think added to it. I mean, I'm not saying anything about music being responsible, but it definitely puts you in a zone when you're already sad to listen to more sadness. And I loved the sad stuff, so I did listen to it. It probably perpetuated that depression a bit. So let's fast forward though a bit, because my parents didn't quite know how to deal with how I was and how depressed I was. And I feel sad sometimes putting them through so much turmoil, including also going through, puberty with both my brother and I, and all of that stuff. Just compounds when you add depression to the mix. And so it was a lot of years of trying to understand it. But what ended up happening for me is I got onto the cycle. And when I say you get in the cycle and into the system, this had nothing to do with my parents, because my parents were, doing their very best. But I sort of started putting myself in the system because what I noticed was the pattern was not improving. So I decided to go and get therapy and talk with different doctors. And back then, I'd say it was like I was about 20, probably 22, 23, when I started to consider, maybe I was actually insane. Maybe I was going nuts. But that kind of led me to question, should I go on drugs? Should I be taking something for these problems? Should I be listening to what the doctors say about maybe I have depression and clinical, I never really felt like I got a clinical diagnosis of depression. Um, I ended up, though, becoming, having two times in my life being suicidal. And that's a serious, serious issue. If you are suicidal, please reach out, talk to somebody. If you're feeling that there's nothing that you can do to help your situation, you have to talk to someone. Because I was internalizing quite a bit at that point, didn't really share a lot. I was really embarrassed about how I was acting and feeling, because as you grow older, you should be, getting better, getting stronger and wiser and all of that. It didn't feel like that for me. It felt like I was falling into a pit of despair. So I ended up going through the system and the cycle, and I'm not lying when I say I think I took 15 different medications by the time I was 35. By the time I was having my first child, actually, wait, how old was I? Oh, no, I had already had kids. I had gone through so many antidepressants, and I think the amount of antidepressants I was taking was not correct. When you compare it to how much therapy I had, which was very little. Because for some reason it was just a mask, or, band-aid system. You just, oh, try this, and it didn't matter what I tried. I would try something, and you get to that phase where you're like, oh no, I feel better now, so I can calm down on the pills. Well, maybe the pills were making me feel better. So I would stop the pills and I would go back into the spiral. And, I apologize to my ex-husband and my children and my in-laws for me being an absolute psychotic crazy nut. But I think those medications they were just doing this all the time. So we'll fast forward a little bit to the one day I woke up and I realized that I think a lot of what happened in my past with the medications and the depression and the sadness all stemmed from that one point in time when I lost my nana and grandpa and did not grieve correctly. I don't think any of us actually grieved correctly, because still to this day, I don't think a lot of it has been processed. And that's the problem with stuff nowadays, is that we're too quick to, somebody dies or something happens and we got to jump back into whatever it is we're doing, running businesses and living life and raising children. We must, it's integral to go through the processes to get through the grief, because in my case it put me into a state of depression for probably 25 years of my life. And I'm so grateful to God that I've actually come past that and realized that with talking and therapy, and I haven't touched a medication for years and years and years and years, but I got to the point where I was able to talk about my problems and my issues. And it's very important to not hold it inside. You must tell people sometimes when you're feeling, at the end of your rope. Because people are there to, if there's someone's going to criticize you, you can find the proper people that will help you. As a nurse, I found sometimes I was that person for someone, and I love that someone would trust me enough to tell me they were sad or depressed or they needed someone to listen to them. And sometimes that's all we need, is someone to listen to us. In my case, it was maybe I could have sat down with someone and talked about the grief and the sadness, but in our house it was very hard because everyone was so deeply hurt by the whole situation. Nobody knew what to say or do. So if you come from that kind of a background where you don't know why you're so depressed, dig deep. Figure out if there's a trauma that happened in your life that might be the underlying reason why you haven't gone past it. So, and that's one of the reasons that I like to talk about Dave's death and bring all of that, bring death and stuff into light, because we really need to talk about stuff so that we can get through it. Some people process really differently. They're quiet for a long time. That's fine. Be quiet about it if you want, but eventually bring it up, talk about it, because it's okay. Like I was saying, we talk about the good things, and it makes things easier. It makes life easier. It makes coping a little bit easier. But yeah, so that's my depression story. And for some of you out there that use natural remedies for depression, I know for myself, I did choose to use cannabis for a lot of years to combat some of the depression, and it worked wonders. It was beautiful. It doesn't work for everybody. Some people it causes a lot of anxiety. I find that some people take micro doses of mushrooms. Maybe not the medicinal kind, maybe even some of the other kinds. I don't know. I don't know what YouTube will let me say there. But I don't advocate one specific thing, but I do know that after being on that many medications from the pharmaceutical companies, that I don't really think they were trying to help me. I think they were trying to keep me in the system and on something. And that's not right, and it's not cool. So I'm glad I've been off of them for a long time. I think I've been off 25 years now at least. But if you have issues with depression or you need someone to speak to, please find somebody in your life that you feel comfortable talking to, and let them know how you're feeling. Because the minute you get it off your chest, you bring it out there, it does relieve a lot of the pressure, because a lot of times we hold things in and we keep a lot of secrets. You don't have to. Not nowadays. I mean, look what we have. We've got so many different outlets. We've got YouTube. You can go online and you can listen to other people like me talk about my own problems. And if it's relatable, it can start the conversation. So start the conversation. Try to get your mental health in order. Do lots of different things to make you happy. Exercise, eat right. I think the discipline of the body helped me as well to just realize that I probably was beating myself up a lot for years and years, and I overate and I did all of that because of depression. Once I cleared that out, I was able to say, okay, now I can focus on my body. But I think I should have been focusing on my body prior, and it would have got the cycle started quicker to the healing process. Anyways, I'm sort of rambling. We're at almost 15 minutes. I appreciate you guys checking in, and I think I'm at like 106 videos now, which I feel pretty good about that. That's pretty wild. And I've figured out sitting over here is much better for the lighting. It gets rid of that potato camera. I do still have the air flowing in here. It's really warm and I'm not complaining. It's beautiful. We already went for a walk this morning in the bush. It was absolutely stunning. Of course, the river, a little bit high, but not terrifying. So anyway, I'm going to go. You guys have a great day. God bless you, and like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you want to watch or listen to more stories. I will do upbeat nostalgia, irrelevant topics, things about what I know in life, because that's about all we're allowed to talk about is what we know, right? I mean, we shouldn't be talking about stuff we don't know. Anyway, you guys have a great day, and God bless. Take care. Bye.